So, welcome to today's podcast. Thanks for joining me as always. As Perennial Pride listeners, I really appreciate you and always hoping you're getting something out of this. And, this is really positioned to be really educational and hopefully building your and financial knowledge as you traverse your own journey in life. And so today, as I'm recording this, and it's in and around the April timeframe where the Masters are occurring, which is an interesting time. It feels like the start of the golf year. And it's an event that I think just draws so much attention. But, when I think about it, the Masters is just a monumental event, so much around it. And, it teaches a lot about our lives and certainly our financial lives. And so I always think about golf in a lot of ways is a sort of symbol of how to manage life, because the game of golf, even though in concept it's very simple, it's getting a little white ball into a hole that's, has all these different sort of hazards and different designs of holes. It's kind of like life, because you never know what you're going to get along the way, and there's a lot of things to manage. So I want to kind of give you my lens on how the game of golf it kind of relates to how we can approach our lives, and certainly our financial lives, in a productive way and a more proactive way. And so when I think about golf at first, it's just like in our financial lives, it's a key to really think long term. And in the world of family office, we're thinking generational wealth. And when we think about golf, yes, you have each individual putt or swing and things to consider, but for when pros are thinking about things, especially when they're trying to manage like a tournament like the Masters, they're having to map out kind of the week and sort of manage that and plan for it and think about the tournament as a whole, think about a whole host of things that are going on in and around the tournament, and plan out and map out their strategy on how they're going to attack the course over the course of multiple days, not just one. So they have to think about their health, and certainly they've probably often deal with their families as well along the way, a lot of distractions, the media, et cetera. So you can imagine that you have to kind of think longer term about things as you're sort of planning for this event. And that's what we do with our finances. We have to act and do things on a daily basis to progress things forward. However, folks who are really aggressively trying to take ownership of their finances are thinking very long range. And when I think long range, it's more, multiple generations, not just, which unfortunately does happen often, not a lot of families, especially if they built wealth, is that it's gone within the next generation or two, because there isn't enough stewardship and sort of education to pass along, so that the wealth that is built continues to perpetuate and hopefully even grow farther. So that's why it's so key and important to have these conversations about things like estate planning and how we educating our children around wealth and money to perpetuate our wealth for good. And that all comes with taking some energy and time to talk about those things, which a lot of families don't talk about. I know that was a case in my family where it really wasn't talked about. And so you almost have to start over and learn those things over time for yourself. So how powerful would that be if we are thinking long term, that we can start educating our families and children, and sort of having them adopt some of the sort of the same mentalities and values around perpetuating wealth for the benefit of not only the family, but society and sort of the sort of human race overall, right? So that's number one, thinking long range and building generational wealth. So the second area that we think about, when we're thinking about golf, and for those who are not pros, right, we're just trying to get around. And of course, management is just trying to find our ball typically. But for the pros who are really thinking about this, they have to examine the course and maybe what are some hazards that are going to be faced along the way, and plan for them, and identify where there are going to be opportunities to be aggressive, and in times when they have to maybe dial it down and take less risk. And so this is really points to the need for us to do that for our financial lives, right? We can't just take one approach and say, this is it, and stop learning, growing, and applying new things as things evolve, because they always do. So that's why it's so key to take a very holistic approach to your financial life and I always simplify it from the balance of protection of wealth and then the capital growth, right? They kind of run in parallel paths to each other. But if they are imbalanced, when things change, you could be in a difficult position in your life. So that's why it's so key to have a proactive approach that involves a lot of your different advisors in your life, whether it be CPAs to investment folks, to risk managers, to your state attorney. And if you're in business, maybe business advisors, really taking a proactive approach to sort of integrate them together and even have them talk to each other. If you're certainly a successful professional, a business owner, how often do you have your advisors actually sitting there talking with themselves on your behalf? It's probably a rare thing for most situations, but what I have come to realize and see is that when you have professionals, advisors speaking with each other, the outcomes are typically much better and the strategy and approach are integrated in a way that, really benefit each other. Whether it's how you protect your family, how does that relate to your estate plan, right? And as well as your tax mitigation strategies, right? They're not in isolation, they can be useful, but in an integrated fashion, it can be even more powerful. So that's why it requires you to kind of think more holistically and integrate the different areas of your financial life to maximize your wealth and impact. So the next area I think about, and think about golf and the different tools that are at our disposal. Obviously, there's a reason why we have a lot of different clubs, and whether it be drivers or putters, they all serve different needs and reasons. And it goes the same with our financial lives. Obviously, I couldn't walk around a golf course and just use a putter. I guess there's maybe some that could do that, but most people cannot, and maybe it's not the best fit. And so, when we're in our financial lives, we often can get very comfortable with certain philosophies or even tools or assets or investment types that we don't expand and grow and try to find a better fit. And so that's why it's so important to sort of continue to grow and explore the different tools and resources that are there to help you to, deal with different areas of your life. Especially if you're a business owner and you're trying to sort of even marry your business and personal lives and your finances, that it requires you to think holistically about what's happening in your financial life so you can prepare for later stages before you sell the business, right? What do you do about your retirement accounts and sort of trying to get a lay of the land of the different types of tools and strategies that are even available for you to invest your money, protect it, have asset protection, estate planning. Like there's so many different areas that serve different needs. And it's funny because I often get a question like, where do you invest? And, that's why you have to ask the question, well, what's the reasoning? What's the purpose of it? And just like I'm trying to sink a 20-foot putt, there are certain tools I'm going to use. I'm not going to bring out the driver, right? Maybe you might actually be able to do that, but you know what I mean? You got to understand the purpose and what you're trying to achieve and what outcomes you're seeking so that you can better identify what are some options or strategies and tools that will give you the maximum benefit for what you're trying to obtain. And having access to a lot of different experts, which we'll go into a second, to be able to bring those resources to you and strategies to you so you are empowered to make the best decision and have more options at your disposal as opposed to just a few handful that you might come across from maybe an investment advisor only. So the other area, which I find, more fascinating aspect of golf in general is that there's physical aspects you got to get good at and mechanically, and you have all these unique swing thoughts of how to improve your golf game. But just like life, mindset, emotional control is so key. And around sports psychology, and you're trying to have the best state of mind as you're performing in golf, or certainly in our financial lives, right? Because finances can be very emotionally sort of driven. And especially around the fear of loss. I mean, at the time it's recording, we're dealing with a lot of turmoil in the economy and what's happening in the administration and tariffs and all these things that are creating a lot of frenzy and panic in a lot of cases. And I think even Trump called it the yips. People are getting yippy and nervous. So having that emotional control and power on you can help you make better decisions, allow you to be more creative in what you're doing. And certainly that applies on the golf course too, because you can't let your mistake here to really drive your psyche, because it will be in your head, and more thoughts in your head, the worse things go, from what I experienced. And that goes same with their financial lives. And the way to get around that is, one is to take more measured, proactive approach to reviewing what's going on in your financial life frequently. So you got a better handle on it. Make sure you understand the approach you're taking, why you have certain tools, and how they fit into your overall approach to your finances. So you don't have to sort of feel like you have to react to everything that goes on, because you have a good plan and strategy in place. Not to say that there are not situations where you would want to adjust, but because you have a good strategy in place and understand where all the pieces are fitting in your overall integrated strategy, you can take a measured, calm approach to making adjustments, assessing whether you want to make a change if needed. And that's why having access to different experts and having like a family office environment allows you to survey the land to get a better sense of what are some options given the circumstances that you can take, and getting tremendous expert sort of opinions from different viewpoints, so you can make a better decision for what's going on. And so want to be more proactive instead of reactive. And that's why the active planning and although there may not be something specific to address on that occasion, it allows you to stay in rhythm. And when things come up, you've already maybe talked about them or thought through them a little bit more, as opposed to always having to react to things, which is unfortunately what I see in a lot of scenarios. And then people feel rushed or maybe feel less in control of what's happening, and they make, unfortunately, a bad decision because they had to make a quick decision. So, one thing that I know, and I see this on a lot of different professional players, I mean, they all have coaches and they have people, different nutritionists and things, all these different types of experts that can help them sort of maximize their game, their psychological approach to it, certainly health. And so that definitely is a parallel to our financial lives. Unfortunately, the way things are set up, it's such a siloed nature in terms of the types of advisors, especially if you're, again, successful professional or business owner. You have probably other larger needs and things that are coming up as challenges in life, but you may not have the integrated team or set of experts to draw from. And so key to sort of get out there and sort of try to proactively find them, or get connected into family office environments where you have a team, a set of experts that can work together and sort of help you solve some of the bigger challenges, like, for instance, preparing to sell your business and, set up your estate plan and maybe your philanthropic activities. I mean, it really can get very complicated, but trying to be that quarterback yourself, to go through all the different experts and solutions and options, can be a very daunting task. And that's why having a really robust sort of team involved can make that a simpler process, and that can work on your behalf and have their own unique sets of expertise that can lend for your current business and personal financial sort of situation, and sort of give you, the best information for you to draw upon to decide where you want to go. And so it's really to surround yourself with tremendous experts and people you can rely on to help improve what you're doing, give you honest, good feedback and input to allow you to make the best decisions. Now, the last thing that I want to cover is around measurement. And, a lot of folks who maybe are not proactively managing their broader financial life, right, may not know kind of where they stand on certain things. They may understand what may be sitting in their one investment account, but just like people today, especially in the golf world, they're tracking virtually every analytic known to man. I mean, the sports world, and certainly golf for sure, has so many analytics around, how people are doing, what their situations and how they're scoring, how to analyze their game to such a degree, and all this, simulators that can, sort of track angles and, rotations, and it can be such an exact science. And I'm sure there's cases where it can be overkill, but I think having some tremendous information around a scorecard or even your financial statements, whether it be net worth, cash flow management, right? Having a ladle in, even if you get even more complicated, with the state and sort of designs, that having that really mapped out will help you, one, track how you're doing against what you would hope with your financial life, but as you're making changes, to kind of see how they impact. And so having this more proactive approach to not only address strategies and discuss strategies and sort of plan ahead or what's to come and maybe research potential solutions, but having a means to be able to measure how you're doing, or are you tracking to what you expect to achieve what you're doing with your finances, and allow you to continue to sort of reinforce and check, is my strategy and approach serving you what you're trying to achieve in life and where you feel most comfortable for what matters. And so having a scorecard, I think, whether it's in business or personal life, and certainly in golf for sure, really helps you to measure where you are, see where you're experiencing positive results, and then where you have opportunities to improve and expand upon, and just take a objective approach, a view of what's happening, and then sort of go digging into what could be done better. And I think that's having the truth and information is definitely a more powerful position to be in. So then you can, evaluate what's happening. For most people, unfortunately, I think they don't really know their current situation, don't know what they have. And it's almost a proverbial jump forward to some degree of their financial lives, even if they're doing great. They may not have a view of how it looks holistically. And so that is what I would certainly encourage you to consider, getting something as whether it help you with bookkeeper and certainly financial advisor, others, to really give you a handle on what's happening, how it's performing, and then give you some sense of where maybe there are opportunities to improve and grow. So hopefully this has been helpful. I mean, it's something as simple as golf. It's a fun sport and something that anyone who's played it recognizes that you probably play for the rest of your life and never perfect it. Just like we can't perfect our financial lives. There's never a perfect way to go about doing it. And that's why it's so key to, one, be surrounded by a lot of great people who can offer you more information, advice, strategies for your consideration, but being more proactive around that so that you have a good handle how it's working, to be assess what's working and what's not, and then start putting into a plan alternative approaches that will enhance what you're doing as your life and world changes, which it always will. So hope this was helpful, gives you some food for thought, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Perennial Pride Podcast. Thanks for joining me on this episode today. I really am grateful for you as listeners to the Perennial Pride Podcast. I hope you're getting some tremendous value out of it and hopefully pushing you along your journey to financial freedom. I put this podcast together really to help you get more educated around your finances so that you feel empowered to live the life that you really want. And if you like the content that you heard today or watched, then I would encourage you to go to my website, perennialpride.com. There's tons of other content there. And you can access my book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can buy it there on my website. It's a aggregation of a lot of great tips and tools I've learned to not only build my wealth in my accounts, but build wealth in my life and abundance and joy, and something that has a lot of my experiences in the journey that I've been on personally. Hopefully that can be also of value to you as you sort of move forward. So thanks again for being a Perennial Pride listener, and we'll see you on the next episode.